Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me talking about some behind the scenes stuff. Sorry, I haven't figured out like a good intro for this particular series. So in this video, I'm going to be doing essentially a look at the behind the scenes for my stuff. I did a previous video on my board game shelves because I do board game stuff primarily. But for this one, I'm just gonna go over the technology that I use to actually live stream to bring you all this live stream. Because for those who don't know, I do record YouTube videos and also live stream on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/CulBlu, that's CulBlu. So if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to check me out there on Twitch. And if you're watching on Twitch, I do have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/CulBluVlogs, that's CulBluVlogs. So feel free to check that out. But otherwise, yeah, let's go ahead and get the background music started, because you know I love background music. Sorry. I'm gonna move the microphone very loudly. There we go, it's a little bit better. Probably gonna be a little bit inconsistent with the audio, but something we have to deal with. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the behind the scenes. So I'm gonna switch over to my other camera that I'm using to record everything. So we will switch over there and I will wave because I'm sitting over here. So I'll wave and then I will walk on over there to grab the camera. All right, so this is the behind the scenes and this one's covering specifically my recording setup. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I built this out and people keep saying, wow, that's impressive. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll let the internet see it too. So here I am with my recording setup. So I normally sit there, and then when Bear joins me, sits there in that seat over there. And then our guest will sit in these two chairs over here. But as you can see, I have a whole overhead rig. This is something I kind of built myself over time. It took quite a bit of figuring out. Not a ton of figuring out, but definitely quite a bit of figuring out, especially on the sound side. But I'll give a generic explanation of what's going on there. And then outside of just that, we also have the streaming box over here. Oops, okay, there we go. We have a mess back there, but we have a streaming box right there, which is right there. I did a separate video on that one already. I did do a separate video on my old box build. I guess I'll do a new video. I'll do another video on the new box build. So I'll get into more detail on that on a different video is what I'm trying to say. But for right now, that's what's live streaming. That's where everything's connected into. So let's go ahead and try to get over to our beginnings and figure out what in the heck is going on in this room. So as I mentioned before, this is the room where I do my recording stuff in. So this is my dining room. So very fancy, I know. And down here, we have some stuff, some control. This is the control area because I usually sit over here, like I said before. So, let me turn the lights on, sorry. There we go, we got some lights on in the room. Over here we have the controls. This is the Steam Deck that I use to kind of control everything. I can kind of press the buttons to change camera sources. So for instance, if I hit this button, it's gonna switch over to my overhead camera. So that just does that, it's just a Stream Deck. Over here we have a Kindle Fire 8-inch that I use to kind of control the music. So all the music that you guys hear is there. And then right above that, we have the sound controller that I use to kind of adjust the audio. So I can make the background music get a little bit louder, a little bit less louder. This is not the most ideal way to control that, but it's how I have it set up in the mess of cables. Also, I should note that I'm not gonna go over how every single thing is connected. I don't think I ever will, because I don't think I fully know, but I have things labeled, so that's a plus. This little side table here is just a little side table that I use to kind of hold miscellaneous stuff. You can see I have chips, some plugs, a panic button. Just a little gag gift that I got from my coworkers, so it's pretty fun. And like I said, just kind of hold miscellaneous stuff like my controller, the microphone, stuff like that. Just whatever I put over here, so that way I don't have to keep it on the main table. Because the main table I usually try to keep mostly clear for the board game stuff, of course. And there's the main table. It is a pretty large table. My mom actually found this table on sale with chairs, 6 chairs. Of course, one is holding the streaming box over there. The other one is over there in the corner of shame, way over there across the room. And oh, look, there's a fireplace. Sorry. But yeah, she found this table for, I think, $1,200 or something like that, with chairs, and she says a really good deal. I was like, oh, heck yeah, it is. And it's a nice sturdy table. It even has little drawers that I use to hold stuff. Various board game things. Anyway, So over here's my laptop. I use this kind of connected up to the same network that my streaming box is on. And then over here is another monitor. So this is kind of the fun behind the scenes stuff that you guys don't always get to see, but that's the whole point of the videos, right? But over here we have the monitor. Oh, geez. The monitor that I can use to kind of monitor the stream. Sorry, the recording, so I can kind of see the stuff. This is a Rodecaster video is what I use to record everything. And hopefully the camera's not too shaky. I'm trying to use the stabilizing gimbal to keep it less shaky, but, oh, I hit the wrong button. But yeah, I can kind of use this to kind of control what's seen over there and what everybody, like if I need to see like kind of close up to kind of see a little more detail of what things look like, I can do that. And this video that we see here, this video feed, is the same video feed that we see over there. Originally, I just had the one over here that we just saw, but I added this other monitor because people who were guests on the show, and also Bear, whenever he joins me for stuff, he's always like, hey, I can't really see that monitor too well, or it would be really nice to have a monitor over here. So I added another monitor. I'll talk a little bit about how that's all connected, but not too much. All right, please pardon the room. It is as clean as it's probably gonna get. Oh, sorry. No. It's as clean as probably ever gonna get, so we're just gonna deal with it. All right, so going back over here, I have some super clamps that are connected to the monitor. So super clamps connected to the monitor, and it's pretty dusty back here. You see this doesn't move. But the super clamps are connected to this monitor. This is the main monitor that I use. And then we have my audio situation down here. I don't want to move it too much because I don't want to upset the audio guides. Hopefully the audio still sounds nice and cozy. But this is what I use for getting the microphones all connected. And the microphones that I use are Rodecaster, it's not Rodecaster, Rode Wireless Pros. So I use Rode Wireless Pros. I have 6 of them for some reason. I don't know. I guess I just have an endless pit of money for board games and technology. I don't know. But I use this mixer to kind of do everything. I use this one because it's small and it's compact, and it can kind of give me the audio control that I need, which is usually more than enough to kind of do what I need to do. So all the audio sources from my mics, and I'll bring this receiver or transmitter here. This is the mic that I'm actually speaking into. You can see it's labeled with my little labeling system of 1 and 2 for different colors. This is the 2 pink mic. Yeah, 2 pink mic. And like I said, I have 6 of them, so it's like I have crystal, green, and pink. But I use this to kind of feed into the source here, and that allows me to kind of combine all the sources into the mixer, and that goes over to the Rodecaster video, so all the audio can go into one source. So I'm pointing all that out because for those who know technical things, what I lose is I lose the ability to kind of isolate each individual microphone because I'm not recording each individual source at the same time, or sorry, I'm not recording each individual source separately. So it's a little bit of a problem sometimes when somebody's mic is doing weird things or making loud sounds, but I try not to do too much post editing anyway, so it's not that big of a deal for me personally. Over here we have headphones for guests, so our guests can listen to the live stream too and listen to the background music if they want to. We have another Amazon Fire tablet, and the reason why I use the Fire tablets is because they are Android devices that are cheap. I think I got all the tablets because there's 3 of them. There's the one I use for music, there's this one, and the one over there. I think I got all these tablets for under $200 roughly on various sales. So it's like a really great way to kind of get a technology thing that Amazon was going to just throw away anyway. And yeah, it's not the best in performance, but all I really need to do is just kind of show the chat. So that way our guests can kind of see the chat as they are here hanging out with the live stream, or being on the live stream, I should say. All right, so continuing on, whoops, sorry, trying to check the chat here. I don't think I missed anything, so I'll put that away. So continuing on here, we have the poles. So this is kind of the backbone of the structure. So this is a spreader stand. I think this is from Newer. I don't know the exact brand or the exact, well, sorry, the brand is Newer, but I don't know the exact dimensions, but I think this one is like a 9.5 feet tall is the maximum height it can go. So I have 2 of these, and on top of that, I have a truss clamp right there. So I have a truss clamp, and that truss clamp is connected, like I used screws, and I used nuts and bolts to basically kind of connect it in through there, and then I used whatever that combiner is. I don't know. I can't move it out of there, so I'm not gonna pull it out to show you. But but essentially, I just kind of built my own thing that can go into a baby pin connector or baby pin socket, which is what this is. Actually, this is a baby pin receiver. Junior? No, this is baby pin receiver. Yeah. So I put into the thing, I can go into a baby pin receiver, and then that kind of sits on there, so it's kind of screwed in, and it rests on top of that. And on top of this is a pipe that I got from Lowe's. So I got from my hardware store, and my hardware store had the pipe. This is a 10-foot pipe, and as you can see, it's a 1¼ inch, which is the standard that a lot of people use for videography stuff. So this truss clamp fits perfectly over this. And that allows me to kind of connect that. And of course I have another one of these on the other side, way over there. And that allows me to kind of get this pole across the entire table. And the importance of the pole across the table, if you can't already see, is the fact that I can kind of connect all my stuff, run all my cables, so I can keep it nice and clean down here on the table. So again, you guys see this, and I don't have anything running under the table. Well, at least I don't have any video or power cables running under the table. I have audio cables running under the table, which I'll show you once we get to it. But essentially that allows me to kind of have a way to kind of get all my cables up and over the table, over to over there, and I can put my streaming box. I can put my streaming box down onto the side. Oops, sorry, down onto the side over there, out of the way. Yes, it does mean I end up losing the ability to kind of sit people on either side of the table. But for most of the board games that I play and most of the stuff that I do, 4 players is kind of the max player count I want to do anyway. For the type of games I like playing. Anything higher than that, you're starting to get into the party game territory. And it's not that party games are bad or not good or anything. It's just that I'd rather play like a nice little strategy game that might take, 2 or 3 hours to play. That's just my preference personally. So that's why the table setup is not the end of the world for me personally. All right, going back over here to the top pole. Let me put my tripod here on the table. Sorry, one second. This will be a little bit shaky. Ooh, ow. Ooh, okay, all right. There we go. Oh, that's a little too close. Let me just remove this 1 second. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So looking up here, so we have just a bunch of cables kind of going across, USB-C cables, audio cables, the likes, power cables, all kinds of things just kind of slewing all across. If you know anything about kind of technology, and if you know anything about like, all this fancy videography stuff, you will know that I'm committing a lot of cardinal sins here. So let me set this back up 1 second. You'll know that I'm committing a lot of cardinal sins here. One is that I have power and audio kind of running together. So I tried to give some separation by putting my audio cables on the other side of this pole, and then all my power and data cables are on this side. It's not a perfect solution by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just enough to hopefully, or to get the audio cables to not pick up too much interference or too much, what's what I'm looking for? Interference is the only word I can think of, but too much background noise, too much dirty sound, whatever. Man, what is the word? Anyway, it's not important. There's a word for what it picks up. I was gonna say the word interference, but I do try to keep them on this side so they can try to have the best chance of not having the power sounds go through them, so it's not making the audio sound crappy. But as you can see, I'm a little bit limited in how I'm doing this. I could very easily do this a whole different way by running the audio cable somewhere else. I do have long enough cables to do that, but I don't. But I'm rambling about that because I know there's gonna be somebody in the comments saying, oh my gosh, you have all your power, your data, and your audio cables all running together. How dare you? And the reason why I dare is because, hey, I built this myself. It's a learning experience. So moving on from there, we have our light right there. This is a newer 60 watt light, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not the brightest thing in the world, but it works perfectly fine for what I have it here for. And if I just turn this light off so we can kind of get a little bit of view, I have some, I gotta back up a little bit. I have some arms that are coming off from this. So this is all connected to a super clamp. So super clamp connects to the newer light. And then the super clamp also connects this magic arm or magic arm like thing that connects up here. And the reason why I have this up here with a sock at the top touching the ceiling is so it can kind of be a stabilizer. So that way, if the rig does kind of sway motions like that, that'll kind of help it stop, swaying back and forth and becoming like a very nauseating motion. It's a problem that I had in my previous rig that I built in my old house or my old apartment before I moved into this house. And I wanted to try to find a way to solve it, and this is the best solution I came up with, besides just mounting a third or getting a third leg to come off to kind of stop the swaying back and forth. So that's just kind of one of the things that just that's how it worked. That's how it was. All right, I think it turns back on. Pretty much through here is just a bunch of cables, so nothing really to talk about. We have some Ethernet cables. We have for the internet. We have the USB cables. We have power cables. Display video cables are going across. HDMI cables, I should say, are going across. All that fun stuff. Going back down here to the more important, interesting thing is my PTZ camera, right there. Ooh, okay, all right. Oh, sorry. My gimbal camera is working against me here. I was trying to get that to move down. So these are PTZ cameras that I have. These are the, I think they're Avarcus. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry, you're staring at the light here. But I think these are the Avarcus cameras, PTZ cameras. These are the LV20s. I know that because I had to look up so many things on them. I had a few issues early on with using them. And I also have an issue that kind of reoccurs with this specific camera. This is a camera number 2. This is camera 1. Is this camera 2 or camera 1? Hold on. Oh, it's on the, oh, sorry. I have it labeled. This is camera 1. I have a problem with camera 1 where sometimes for some reason in the middle of like just using it, it will just like power cycle. So it'll like turn off and then it'll do like its whole like shutdown and then come back on and then it goes back to normal. I don't know why it does it. It's only this camera that does it. The other camera does not do that. I don't know why this camera does it. But anyway, it's one of the problems that I have with it. But the reason why I use PTZ cameras here is so I can kind of reposition them, zoom in, zoom out, move around, all that fun stuff. And it gives me a lot of flexibility, especially being kind of mostly a solo person operation. And it gives me a lot of flexibility to do stuff. And oh, sorry, I see a chat here. Blue Eyed Demon says, gotta go off 2 a.m. for me. See ya until next time. Okay, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Hope you have a good one. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for joining. But going back to the camera, I had problems with that. But otherwise, I like the cameras a lot. And it gives me the ability to reposition and stuff. Like I said before, it also gives me a lot of input-output options. So these cameras specifically have power over Ethernet. So that's why you see, well, I could run everything just through this Ethernet cable, but I wanted to use the HDMI that's here. And that brought about a different challenge I'll talk about in a second. But essentially, the power of Ethernet can also bring along the network video or NDI, network device interface, because these cameras are also NDI compatible. You can see here it has NDI printed right there in big text. So I could theoretically run these cameras off of just one single Ethernet cable. And actually, in fact, for Bear, the friendly neighborhood gamer, we did a few videos with his setup, because he bought his own stuff and I helped him build out his stuff, or build out his rig. But we ran his stuff with just a single Ethernet cable for all 3 of his cameras, because he has 3 PTZ cameras. They're versions of these, but they're the newer ones, but not the fancy ones. So they're like the one step down, but a generation over, if that makes sense. They're 5th generation instead of 4th generation, but they're like the one step from like the super high tier ones. These were the super high tier ones, allegedly. I say allegedly because that's what I think they were, but don't quote me on that. But all that goes along when they say that with his cameras, we ran his off of just a single Ethernet cable, and we use that for both. We use that for power power and video, and that worked out perfectly. So that goes a long way to say that I do not need an HDMI cable connected to this PTZ camera. I could just run it straight off of just one Ethernet cable, but I do not because I just didn't. I don't know. I guess I wanted to justify having all these cables already. So I do have the audio, the house aux. So the music that you guys hear in the background, the very light music that you hear in the background, is being played through camera 2. So camera 2's HDMI is carrying the audio that's coming out from the Kindle, and that is going over into the streaming box. So that's how I have all that rigged up. Not the prettiest way to do it, but it works. It's an audio channel, and it saves me from having to run another cable, because I just bring the Kindle over to here. Well, actually the soundboard that the Kindle's connected to through Bluetooth. I bring that to here, and that goes through the HDMI, and it goes over into the box, and then the box I can hit the button and you can hear the music. Yay, fancy stuff. All right. Moving on from this camera, we talk about our newest edition, and by newest, I mean literally added 3 days ago, relative to the time that I'm recording this video. But the newest edition is gonna be, bumpy. The newest addition is going to be this camera here. This is a webcam, and this is the camera that you saw at the very beginning. This is a Logitech MX Brio, I think is what it's called. So the Logitech MX Brio, and the reason why I did this is because I really wanted to buy a third PTZ camera, but those cameras are about $400. Brand new. I think you can get them used for about $300, so it's still not an awful price. And the MX Brio cost, I think, about $150. So I really couldn't justify getting a third camera because then I would need to get another HDMI cable and all this stuff, especially considering that I just wanted an overview that wasn't going to move. So what I'm talking about, let me get this over here. 1 second. One moment, please. So what I'm going on about is that this is the overhead view that I want. And I just want a camera just to do this. So it was very difficult for me to justify paying, $300 for another camera to do this when I can just use a high quality webcam. Yes, it's a high quality webcam, but it's gonna be static. It's not gonna go anywhere. And I did as good as I could to kind of get the video to match. It's a little bit off with the colors and stuff, and it's a little bit brighter on this one. So I guess I can tinker with it more. But with the Rodecaster Video, I can bring in this webcam that you're currently looking at right now. I can bring it in through the USB on the Rodecaster Video, and that saves me my other HDMI ports. So I can do things like what I'm doing now. Because what I'm doing now is I have a camera that I'm currently holding, which is this camera right here, that you guys are seeing your view of the rig from. I have my two PTZ cameras, and I have another spot that I can plug a camera into because the Rodecaster Video can do up to 4 HDMI inputs. So that goes a long way to say that this saves me an HDMI port by doing it this way instead of the way I was going to do before. And also I want to acknowledge that even if I did go with the PTZ camera instead, I could just bring the video over NDI, but I just didn't want to do that for some reason. It's a solution, I don't know, it's just staying out loud here. All right, cool. Glad we established all that. Moving back over here. So we are back to our overhead rig. So that is the camera. Another note that's important is that you do need to have a USB cable, a USB-C to USB, well, just USB-C to USB-C cable, I guess, that is strong enough to go to the Rodecaster Video. So that resulted in me needing to get a, I think this is a Thunderbolt 5. Thunderbolt, is that the right word? Lightning. Is it Lightning or Thunderbolt? I think Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt 5, whatever. It's either Thunderbolt 5 or Lightning 5. I think Thunderbolt is the appropriate word. But it's a Thunderbolt 5 cable, which is pretty expensive because this is a 15-foot one. And I say pretty expensive because it cost me, I think, $50 for this cable. And that is a little bit absurd, but it is what I needed to get that to be powered on and do video over USB. Over here, we got another PTZ camera. Not much to say about this one, except for it's another PTZ camera. Oops. Not much to say about this one except for it's another PTZ camera. We got another light, and then we got our stuff coming on here. So in reality, there's nothing else to talk about over here except for the audio, and then we're pretty much done. So I didn't mention before that we have headphones for the guest. So we have another product here, which is the Zoom, I forget the actual official title, but we have a splitter. So essentially the audio is coming into this. Actually, hold on, how's this connected? 1 second. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, the audio that you guys are listening to is going to the Rodecaster Video, and I'm taking one of the headphone outputs from the Rodecaster Video and coming back into this. And what this is doing is this is allowing me to split that audio source 4 ways. So I can have headphones, Bear can have headphones, and our 2 guests can have headphones. So we can have 4 headphone sets connected to it. And that's actually routed under the table. So where's my flashlight? I do not have my flashlight. Let me get my flashlight here. Oh, there it is. I see it. So if I go under the table here, very fantastic fashion, cable everywhere. Oh my gosh, this is a mess. This is a mess. All right, let me detach this first. Here we go. All right, and under the table we go. So if we go under the table, this is what I mentioned before, that I don't have anything going under the table except for audio. And that's mostly because I didn't want to have USB cables and stuff like that running down here. So looking up at the top here, right over there. Can you see that? Yeah, it's hard to see. I think that's the right spot you need to aim at. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. All right, it's black on black, so it's gonna be hard to see, but we essentially have audio cables, headphone jacks, aux cables going under the table, and it's kind of routed under the table and through here. So I'm just gonna trust that you can see this because I cannot look at the monitor and hold the camera at the same time. Actually, no, I can't. I can't do both. But I have it routing under the table. So we have the headphone jack right there, right there. So that way the person sitting over here can plug in their headphones. And it's very rudimentary. I mean, it works for what I need it to do, and it works perfectly well. And like I said, that allows me to get headphones to everybody. So that way everybody can listen to the headphones. Nothing super magical about it. It's just a splitter. It just gives me audio sources for everybody. Everybody has their own controls too. So whoever's sitting over here, which is usually Bear, he can adjust the audio so if somebody wants to hear it louder or a little bit quieter, they can. They don't get fine controls to be able to control like individual audio levels for other people, but it gives them the ability, it gives people listening the ability to kind of hear what people who are watching on stream hear. Oh, sorry. Huh. I don't know why I did that. Sorry, my camera is not cameraing properly. One second. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it. Sorry. Clearly I use this camera a lot. Sorry. So that is essentially that. The last thing to look at, like I said, the audio was pretty much the last one, but the last thing is the streaming box. I do want to go over how I have this connected. I'm not going to go over the streaming box because I have another video on it. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do a new video on it. I know I said that at the beginning, I'll do a new video on it, but it's the same thing except for Rodecaster videos plugged into it. It's nothing different from the previous one. And also, I talked about Bear's box at the time, so it's not really much to say outside of it's a streaming box that has everything you need. The idea is that I can kind of close it and keep everything that I need in there, and then I can open it, plug in my sources here on these plates here, these keystone plates that have various like Ethernet, HDMI, audio jacks, stuff like that, the things that I would need, and then kind of plug it in to power everything with the power cord that's over there, which flashlight's over there, so I can't get it. But essentially it has all the internals that I would need, all the guts that I would need that are all in there. So that is pretty much it. Nothing else to see here. But I wanted to talk about the power situation. So I have this box connected into a power station, a Blue Yeti Elite 100 V2 specifically, and that allows me to keep it going if the power does go out. And I also have my router and switch. If you remember from the previous video that I did where I talked about my board game shelves, I have my router and switch for the house is it's all connected. Sorry, router and switch. Sorry, modem. My modem and my router are connected to a power station. So that way, if power does go out and I'm live streaming, as long as the ISP didn't die, or as long as I can still get internet signal out, then I should be able to continue streaming even if the power goes out for a little while. And those are pretty good power supplies. Power banks, power stations, and I can run them on solar if I wanted to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Wait, no, that's not it. Hold on. I found something else I need to talk about. All right, aside from me walking around the room all fancy like, and oh, hi Time Roller, welcome. I'm doing a tour of the room of the rig that I used to record. So the last thing is this here. So this is where I connect my receivers, or my transmitter. No, receiver is the right word. Ah, shoot, this light is very bright. 1 second. Where's the button? There we go. This is what I use to connect my receivers, which you can probably barely see. My gosh, I planned this out, I promise. And this is where the audio connects in. So the receivers connect here, and then my little transmitter here sends a signal over to this receiver, which again you can probably barely see, and that goes down to the mixer, and that mixer is what goes to the ultimately goes to the box over there. Okay, cool. So that was the last thing, and yeah, that's it. So let me switch over to our overhead view, and I can finally sit down. Wow, that didn't take very long. So some bits and pieces to talk about, some housekeeping things to talk about on my build. This entire build I did build up over the course of years, I would like to say. I definitely iterated a lot on different things and added different pieces here and there. I removed different pieces. I kind of had a situation to where I needed 3 monitors at one point. So I had 3 monitors connected up to it, where I had the 2 on the side and another 3rd monitor. But I eventually got rid of the 3rd monitor because we didn't need it anymore. And this build is overall very sustainable for me to record videos with the overhead view. And actually, sorry, let me turn the light back on here. There we go. Whew. Sorry, all kinds of a mess over here I am. But it's good enough for me to kind of record overhead videos for doing board games and stuff. And as you can see, I can kind of have my overhead view here and the PTZ cameras. Where's the remote? Where's the remote? There it is. The PTZ cameras that we have, it allows me to kind of move them around, point to different things. So if I have like a, hey, I wanted to zoom in on this card, and you definitely see me use them in my previous videos, but it allows me to kind of get the zoom in that I want. So you can see my hairy hand there. Yeah, look at that great hand. And this is one of the things I like about my current setup, is that it gives me the flexibility to kind of do bigger games, smaller games. I can do kind of unboxings, which I've been doing a lot of recently. And it allows me to just kind of sit down and play, because everything's out of the way. I can kind of hit 2 or 3 buttons and my recording box is on, my lights are on, and I'm live streaming. So it kind of just, boom, ready to go. And it also frees up my computer. Because I use a Rodecaster Video for the brains of it, I can use my computer for something else. I can even connect my computer up to it, or I can use OBS on my computer to stream twice. I can do all kinds of stuff. The world's my oyster with my build. But the main heart of my build, besides the streaming box, of course, is definitely that overhead rig. That allows me to kind of have everything set, stay in place, and I have the good fortune to live in such a way that I can just leave my overhead rig up during my work day, when family's visiting, when friends are visiting, when when I'm doing some cleaning around the house. It's up and out of the way, and that's mostly because most of the cables are all up above us, so it's not in the way, so you don't see it kind of interfering with what we're doing here. And the stuff that's kind of jumbled up and kind of messy is over there to the side where nobody's going to stand or go anyway. So it just ends up working out pretty well. So overall, I like my setup. There are definitely ways that I can make it much more efficient. I think in a perfect world, I would run all my cables through my table. And what I mean by that is kind of like use the channels and all that space I have down there to kind of run every single cable under my table. That way I can just like take the overhead part and just like, break it down and put it away. So I can kind of sit 6 people around. And then when I'm ready to stream or something, I can just kind of, put the 2 stands on the side, put the lights back up, and then put the cameras back up and then connect them and then boom, ready to go. So that'll be nice in the future. But like for right now, as it is, I do appreciate and like it as it is. It gives all the table space that we need to kind of play our big games, so I can reach all the way around, all the way across. And it allows us to give you guys the angle that you need to see stuff. And I also have the ability to add more cameras because, like I said, Bear, somebody who I live stream with from the Friendly Neighborhood Gamer, Bear also wants to kind of do a face cam. I don't want to do a face cam, so I don't do a face cam. But I have the ability, the flexibility to kind of add in another camera so he can have his own face cam and put it in the corner or something. And again, the world's our oyster. We can do a whole bunch of cool stuff. And I do like the flexibility that my build gives. Again, there are better ways to do everything. Like I said, running through the table, mounting the overhead part on the ceiling will be another aspiration for one day, just not today. And also the sound in this room is not very good. I'm trying to do things to kind of make the sound better. As you guys can hear, there's definitely a noise gate involved now. So you hear less of the background AC, and also the AC is right behind me. So it's not an ideal situation to be recording in a giant open room where you can hear echoes echoes everywhere. But it's a living, it works out. Okay, so hopefully that tour was useful. Sorry I didn't go into super ultra specifics. I did do a pricing of all the things that I had in my overhead rig that were not included in the streaming box, and the pricing for all that came out to about actually, I think it didn't, no, it did not include the streaming box. Did it? Okay, hold on, let me look it up. But it came out to about $4,000, and I just want to be more specific. The $4,000 comes from the cameras is the biggest expense, because the 2 cameras are $400 a piece, so it's $800 by itself. The lights I think were $150 a piece, so things just kind of added up over time. And maybe that did include a streaming box. Let me see. I gotta go to my Google Drive here. But I'm mentioning all that to say that it does not have to be that extensive and expensive. It could be very, very, very cheap and low cost. All you really need is just a phone camera. You can do it with your phone camera. You can use webcams, like the camera that you're currently looking at right now is a webcam, so you don't need anything super ultra fancy. I guess it is a fancy webcam that I'm currently using, but $150 versus $400 for a camera. One is definitely more attainable than the other. I'm not saying that both are easily attainable by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, if you have a cell phone, you can do live stream with your cell phone, or recording with your cell phone for board game stuff. There's a lot of DIY rigs that exist out there that use PVC instead of the fancy stuff I have. In total, the stands that I have, I think these were $70 a piece. And then the overhead bar is its own $80 price. So it's about $200. You can get an overhead rig and then just start putting stuff on it. A lot of the expense, if I recall correctly, comes from the cables, because the HDMI cables that I use are fiber optic cables, and they are $40 a piece for 50-foot cables, because normal runs of HDMI cables without any special additions to it can run you 25 feet. If you're going anything longer than 25 feet, it's highly recommended for you to use SDI connectors, which is a different type of cable connector. But one, my cameras aren't SDI compatible. Two, the Rodecaster video is not SDI compatible. And three, I just wanted to use HDMI, so I use HDMI instead. So that's all there. Oh, sorry, and Time Roller. Hello, Time Roller. Welcome. Time Roller here says, I need to replace my Blue mic soon. Has a broken connector. I've been looking into lav mics. Yes, so the microphones that I use, and I'll take advantage of the moment here and bring out my microphones here without breaking anything, hopefully. There we go. The microphones that I use are the Rodecaster, sorry, here we go. We'll switch over. Are the Rodecaster Pros. So these are the, well, I guess we're saying black on black, but the Rodecaster Wireless Pro, sorry, I keep saying Rodecaster. The Rode Wireless Pros. These are overkill, especially for what I do and what I use them for. The main reason why I use these ones is because, one, I used to use the Rode Wireless 2s previously, so I had 6 of those or 8 of those. I think 6 of those. And I just essentially replaced them because, one, this has time code, which is something I used exactly one time since I've had them, and I've had these for about 2.5 years. Or 2.5 years? That sounds right. No, maybe 1 year. Oh man. Anyway, I had these for some period of time that does not justify the amount of time I've used the time code is what I'm trying to say. So it was definitely an overly expensive expense. And then on top of that, it gives you 2 mics. I needed at least 4, so I had to buy this twice, and I think this was $300 a piece. So it was pretty expensive is what I'm saying. The saving grace for these, though, is that it does come with the accessories kit, which my brother, who does video production stuff, he was talking about how this is a really good value because it gives you pretty much some cables that you can kind of connect your thing up with. It gives you labs, which is what you were talking about, Time Roller, and these labs themselves from Rode, these run about $80 by themselves, just for one, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But essentially, you're paying $300, so you're getting transmitters and receivers. So you're getting 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. And you're getting a recharging case. So this case has a battery built in it. It can charge. And I promise I'm not sponsored by Rode. I'm just talking about it. And you get 2 labs. So if you're going to use the labs, this is a really good investment. But also, like I said, I needed 6 of them. So I had to buy this 3 times. And that did not, my wallet was not very happy with me when I did that. Let me just say that much. But with that said, though, I think these are really good if you have the expense or the flexibility to go for these. I think these are pretty good to go for. It's just, you know, hey, are you going to use 2 mics or just 1? Because I think Rode sells a single transmitter, a single receiver, and that's nice. And if you're in the Rode ecosystem like I am, because I have a Rodecaster Video, I have a Rodecaster Audio, Rodecaster Pros, and Rodecaster Duo. These are all kind of intercompatible with each other, so it gives me another excuse, another reason to have what I have here, which feels good. So I don't feel like it's kind of wasting my money here. But I'm saying all that to say that this is a very expensive way to go, relatively speaking. Unless you want to get into like pro stuff, this is approaching the pro level stuff, but it's not actually pro level. The pro level stuff, the Deity, I think, is kind of the entry level pro stuff from what I recall researching. That stuff runs like $500 for a set of mics that don't even record, and it was a whole thing. It didn't work out for me, but I digress. Going back to the main point though, I think these are really good lavs. I'm currently using these as lavs connected to myself. So if that's an option for you, from a price perspective, you can definitely go that. You can also go with the previous generation of these, which is the Rode Wireless 2s, and those work pretty well. They did pretty good. They do not have time code, which is why I have these ones now, because these ones have time code. But they worked really well for me. I use them for all of my earlier videos that you heard way back in the days, and that worked out pretty well. And also, there's a lot of really cheap options out there. And when I say cheap, I mean like under $100, which I guess to anybody else except for somebody who spends too much money on things like equipment and stuff, $100 is not really cheap. But I am in the board game hobby, so I mean, I guess having the perspective of $100 being cheap is very useful for buying a $150 board game that you only played twice. Anyway, going back to what I was saying though, there are a lot of lower priced options that exist. I would recommend going for reputable names. Yes, you can spend $80 on something cheaper instead of spending $200 on the more expensive thing. But the $200 thing, more likely than not, is going to sound better and perform better. But I would definitely recommend watching review videos for sure. Because I mean, yeah, hey, instead of buying the $80 thing, buy the $200 thing, says the person who's not having to buy it again. Says the person who bought the $300 thing. So I'm saying that to say that I acknowledge that $80 is still a lot of money. But if you have the flexibility to do that, go for that. All right, sorry, I'm rambling very much on mics. Sorry, my apologies. Continuing on with everything else, though, I wanted to show the behind the scenes of the overhead rig, mostly because I just want to kind of document what I have. Just kind of show, hey, here's the build, here's where it is. This is what I use to record my little videos, and this is my little corner of the internet that I use to get my stuff going. I've seen some people who have like floating cameras that they use, so that they have them like on tracks and stuff, so they can actually move them and like pan them around. That would be really cool. I don't think I would actually use it too much because I think they mostly use it for like showing face cameras and having like dynamic camera views and everything. I think the PTZ is good enough. One big improvement that I think I could do with my build, besides the other things I said previously, would be to put my PTZ cameras on tracks, so that way I can kind of take the PTZ camera and kind of move it over without having to get up and move them. Because I can get up and physically move them around if I need to, but it's it's very shaky, it's not very smooth, so I can't really do it while I'm recording because it wouldn't be the best experience overall for the viewer. But it would be nice to kind of have tracks. That way I can kind of hit a button and then my PTZ camera would go from where it's at to like moving over, and I can kind of get a different view. That would be so cool. I might look into it, but I think those tracks that I'm thinking of are pretty expensive by themselves. And DIY options exist, but I don't think I have the expertise to do upside down tracks like that. But maybe one day, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So like I said, I'm pretty much rambling at this point. Oh, I do want to show one other thing that I didn't really point out very well. Let me get my camera back here. Oh, nope. Okay, calm down. There we go. All right, so I'm going to switch back over to our gimbal camera so we can kind of see the rest of my room. And looking up, I do have a sheet, just a sheet that acts as diffusing material. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because DIY. There's a lot of DIY involved in my build. I get it. I bought a lot of relatively expensive things. But the overhead pole from the hardware store, the spreader stands instead of super fancy, like, high-powered combo stands, those things were cost measures or cost-cutting measures that I used to allow me to get like the more expensive camera, to allow me to get the more expensive microphones, to allow me to get the more expensive recording box. But I wanted to point out the sheet that I used to diffuse the light. And the light's bouncing off the ceiling and is being diffused here over through the sheet, so that way you can kind of have a better spread of light here, down here. And I'm pointing it out because there's a lot of DIY options that you can use. I mentioned before that you can even do like PVC overhead rigs. I wouldn't put what I put up there with overhead rigs made of PVC, but if you're just using like your cell phone or maybe like a small camera, a PVC rig could be very serviceable. And of course, you have to be very careful with it, of course, but it could be very, very, very serviceable. And oh yeah, Time Roller, yep, exactly. Time Roller says Salted Shadows, nice DIY softbox. Indeed. It doesn't look the greatest looking at it, in person, but all that matters is what it looks like on the camera here. And also it helps with glare. Let me see, I got some board games. Oh, I'm gonna do unboxing there for this. Okay, cool, perfect. So it helps with glare. It doesn't eliminate it completely, but it definitely helps. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Ooh, that was close. All right, but it helps with glare. Like I said, it does not eliminate it because you can still definitely see the glare there. And also, that's another reason why I want the PTZ in the middle. I still might get it, I don't know, because I can zoom in. But this is the overhead view. So let me switch over to the other. Let me switch over to the other camera. Wait, that's weird. There you go. Look at that. So less glare for sure. Okay, cool. All right, I think you guys get the point. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end things there. So if you are watching a live stream, I will be doing a unboxing or 2 unboxings of some games that I have here. If you're watching here on YouTube, thank you all very much for watching. But I'm just letting people know who are watching a live stream, I'm gonna unbox some games and maybe I'll play a game because it's only 8:30. Wow, feels like it's midnight. Ooh, long day, long day. All right, cool. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope this is very informative. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions about my my build and everything. I'm not gonna do a parts list like I've done in the past because that'll take so long. I have so many different cables from so many different random places. But the general idea is that, you know, overhead rig, I like the overhead rigs. It works out for me. I use it for my my little production here, my little YouTube show. And yeah. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you all whenever.